Let's talk about casting. Over the last year or so, I've had a lot of questions from people, whether in my Twitch chat, my Instagram DMs, just in general, asking me if I'm still casting. And this came up again the other day when I posted something on my Instagram story, basically saying that I wanted to change my username from Geocasts to something else, and some arsehole has stolen my full name. And of course, I had questions from people saying, wait, hold on, are you just not casting anymore? This is something that I have purposefully not made a video about or addressed directly, but for a number of reasons, I kind of want to do that now. So for those of you who just want the blunt answer, yes, I'm still casting. No, I haven't quit. For those of you who want a slightly longer answer, then that's what the rest of this video is for. I think at this point in the esports life cycle, it's become a lot more obvious to many people that a number of broadcast talent are dropping out of the scene, whether that's voluntarily, whether it's because they haven't been asked back to their jobs, whether it's because they've been replaced with cheaper or newer talent, whatever it may be. Some of the reasons people have given have been public, and some people have chosen not to give any reason. You've just kind of noticed a change. In a lot of cases, people speculate. I've read countless Reddit threads about a lot of different people regarding why they aren't doing this event, or they're not on this thing, or they haven't been asked back to this. You know, you're never going to get those answers from Reddit unless that person gives you those answers themselves. But I think with this quite obvious change that's sort of occurring in esports right now, and you might think it's a good thing, you might think it's a bad thing, but it's a change nonetheless, then it's probably more a good time for me to talk about my situation and where I stand regarding if I'm still casting, if this is my main job, like blah, blah, blah. For some time now, it's been clear to me that my casting career has not been the same as what it used to be. And that's not anything to do with me like being washed up or not being able to do my job anymore. But what a lot of people know me for is the time that I spent on a number of long-term leagues. So whether you know me from Rainbow Six, where I did the EU League, the APAC League, the Brazil League, and other things, or whether you know me from Valorant, where I was on EMEA and I also, you know, appeared on international events as well. The point is, most of you will know me for being a mainstay talent on a long-term league. But I haven't been a mainstay talent on a long-term league for a really long time now. At the beginning of 2022, I wasn't invited to be a part of VCT EMEA anymore or any of the other leagues, and that took a very, very, very long time for me to make any kind of peace with and be okay with. That was a very difficult thing for me. And after that, I wasn't asked to be a part of any long-term league in any other game. And that's kind of understandable, because if you're going to be part of a long-term league, usually it's someone who's already established in that game, and I wasn't involved in any other game at that time. In the last year and a half, there have been a lot of things that have happened in my life, and I'm not going to sit here and go into detail about my personal shit. But the place I've been professionally for some time now is that most of my work is short-term contracts, sometimes on a relatively short notice, really kind of the least stable way there is of working, where you kind of just wait for the next thing to come up, whatever that may be. It does mean that I've been able to do things that have a little bit more variety. You know, I haven't been just casting. I got to desk host this year. I've worked non-esports gaming events and things like that. I've done consulting work in esports as well. I know I'm like one of those LinkedIn people now. I've done a lot of different things, but none of them have involved being like the main caster on a league, which is what I used to do, and it's also what I set out to do in esports. For a long time, that was something I couldn't make any peace with. It was something that I found really hard. Because I felt like the thing that I had set my aspirations around and had worked really hard for, I felt like that was coming to an end, and I didn't know what to do about it, and that I didn't have anything else outside of that. Or less so that I didn't have anything else, but that I didn't want to do anything else. There wasn't anything else that brought me that same kind of fulfillment. Now, obviously, life is a journey, and fortunately, I am not in that place anymore. Esports is a different place to what it was when I first came into the scene. And I don't even consider myself, I was not an early adopter. I thought I was late in 2018. And there are things about esports that are so much better now. And there are things about esports that people would argue is worse. But like, whether you think it's a good thing or a bad thing that it's changed, the point is that it has changed. and expectations change and other things change, right? And it's like, for a long time I saw the change in my work situation as a comment on my self-worth and as a reason to believe that I wasn't good enough anymore, whether I wasn't good enough at my job or I just wasn't good enough as a person. And to be honest, it made me more unwell than really like any other time in my life. And, you know, there was a lot behind the scenes for me emotionally that I tried really hard to not let on. And anytime someone would ask me like, oh, when are you going to be back on this league? The truth is, I don't know the answer. I didn't know what to say to people. Like, I don't know. If I had the roadmap for the date that I'm going to be asked to work something, like, I probably wouldn't be miserable. And that was really difficult. The place I'm at in esports now is that, I mean, first and foremost, I'm a fan, right? Like, I legitimately love esports. That's why I came into esports. I don't think anybody comes to esports just to get a bag, to be honest, because it's easier to get a bag anywhere else. I legitimately love esports, and I love making content about esports, and I love all of that stuff. So me not being on a main league anymore is definitely not any, you know, that's not going to have any effect on whether I am involved or still part of the community. But what I'm mostly doing these days is I'm doing these kind of short-term contracts, and I'm working in a bunch of different places in esports. It is my, you know, only / main source of income. I don't have like another job outside of this. So, you know, I'm still working full-time in esports. It's just in a slightly different capacity to where it used to be before and what it used to be before. And yeah, there have been at least a substantial period of time where that was something that made me very, very unhappy. And I'm kind of in a place now where I have really come to embrace that position. There are a lot of other projects that I'm really passionate about and I'm working on. And to be honest, before I got to a point where I recognized that I had these projects that I was passionate about and that I was working on, I went through a period of time where I was really lost in a way I've never known before, because I've always been someone who knows what they want, they know what they're trying to achieve, and I went through a period of a number of months where I genuinely didn't know what I was doing or what I wanted. The only thing I knew was that I wanted to leave the country, and that's still true, and has been for a long time, but I didn't know anything else, and I had to go through that in order to get through the accepting that I wasn't being brought back to do this work to being in the position that I'm in now. But what it does mean is that the expectation of what I'm doing in esports is a little bit different now. I find it really sweet when people ask me like, oh, when are you coming back to this? Because like, I loved you on this broadcast. That's really nice, because all I've ever wanted is for people to be able to enjoy my work. But the truth is, I don't know, and the answer may be never. It is entirely possible that I'm never on those broadcasts again. And that isn't my decision, but it is kind of the way the cookie crumbles. I didn't leave any of those broadcasts voluntarily, but that is also kind of just the progression of a career and of life, and especially in a freelance industry, is no one is safe. And look, I obviously have just moved into a new apartment from the place that I lived in for the last 6 years. It was the place where I started my first foray into esports. I did my first ever broadcast at my desk in that last house, and now I'm in this completely new environment. And that has made me feel kind of more embracing of where I'm at now. And I think that's part of the reason why I actually want to even talk about this now, because, you know, I felt trapped in that place for a really long time. I was not happy. That's not something that I necessarily want to dwell on right now, but the point is I'm thinking more about these other things that I'm doing as well at the moment. So cool, I get to go and do X, Y, and Z event in esports, and I get to, I'm being deliberately vague because there's stuff that I have in the works that I aren't announced, but also there are these other projects that I'm doing for myself that I really want to nurture and I want to work on really hard, that I'm so ready to just like put so much into that. Yes, I'm still casting, but no, it's not in the capacity that I've always been known for. For a really long time, like I tried very hard to not draw attention to that. Because I was worried that if I drew attention to that, then people would just associate me with being out the scene and being washed up, and then there would be no way of me coming back. And I guess I'm sort of at a point now where that, you know, mentally, I don't want to carry that burden. I don't want to carry the burden of feeling like I have to pretend that I'm part of something more than I actually am. I don't want to be like putting in this effort to try and like pretend that I'm doing something that I'm not, especially now that I'm in a place where I'm really happy and excited about these other projects I'm working on, and I want to be able to just go at those things with full force, work on the esports work that I have, give that all of my effort that I can, and not have this like in the background being like, oh my god, you've got to keep up this facade that you're still where you were in 2021. Like, I'm not where I was in 2021. And that's just the truth of it. That is just the truth of it. And I've known that for a long time. And it's funny because I thought it was really obvious to everybody else, but the fact I still get asked a lot of stuff suggests to me it's not. That's generally just what comes from the fact that no one's ever paying attention to your life as much as you are, right? But yeah, that does mean that things like my Instagram handle being geocast is not a fully accurate representation of everything I'm doing now and the things I'm working on. And, you know, that was great for me when I was doing nothing but casting these full-time leagues all the time, and my whole life was casting, and all of my branding was casting. Totally made sense. But that's not where I'm at anymore. I'm really happy that I still get to be here in a capacity that makes sense for me, and also get to do other things and feel like I'm growing beyond that, and I'm not just permanently 23 anymore. Wish I didn't sweat so much. So there are like other content projects outside of this channel that I'm also working on. This channel's not going anywhere, by the way. It just might be less frequent uploads because I can't just work on esports videos from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep anymore, because I'm trying to do a lot of other things. Many of you know I've been doing music very seriously since the beginning of the year, and so I have to put a lot of time into that. And like I said, other content projects that are for a slightly different demographic. I have had some of the worst mental health crises of my entire life in the last year, and right now, right in this very second that I'm making this video, I feel very at peace with my situation and where I am, and I'm open to it going in either direction. You know, if it goes in the direction where Riot or whoever, like, you know, some esport knocks on my door and they go, hey Gio, we really want you to cast like this thing, cool, like that's awesome. But if one of my other projects really takes off and esports doesn't come back in the capacity that it has always been for me, then cool, awesome, I go that way. I feel very relieved to be there, to be honest. And I feel like it will make me better to interact with as a community and as a content creator, and when I'm streaming and stuff. And I'm really just excited to grow me, and for the concept of Geo to not only exist within the context of like working on this esport or this esport. It's not like, oh, Geo only exists if Rainbow Six or Valorant exists or whatever. It's like, no, Geo is eternal. So I'm genuinely really, like, I feel really inspired at the moment. This is stuff that I've really avoided talking about, and I am sorry to the version of me who just wanted to do that stuff and just wanted to do that forever, because I worked really, really hard for that. And I don't think I've ever been more dedicated to anything in my life. And the truth is, it didn't turn out that way. Oh my god. It's hard for me to think about how unwell it made me to see my dream falling away, and feel like I couldn't do anything about it, and knowing that I'd worked really hard for it. Like that, you know, it's hard to think about that, and I'm grateful to not be there anymore. And yeah, I'm excited to work on these things in a different capacity, you know? Like, I might not ever cast a Valorant event again, but at least I can make content about it and, you know, work on Valorant related things, and I have some ideas for what those things could be, so and I'm talking to people about them, so you know, there's stuff I'm really excited about along those lines. Yeah, I'm just grateful and grateful and looking to the future. If you guys have any questions, you know, feel free to ask me in the comments. I definitely don't want anyone to infer any kind of drama. It truly is just the way things go sometimes. Sometimes you're in the right place at the right time, and I've been very fortunate to have many of those moments in my career, and then sometimes you are just not in the right place at the time that you need to be there. And that is also okay as well, because that it happens. And you can have a really big ebb and then have a great flow. And also for those of you who asked me if I like didn't apply to be on whatever league at any one time, casters don't apply for jobs. Thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait to bring you content in the new apartment. I hope that you will like it. Not that I'm inviting you over, but you know, it's a little bit different from the last one, but I'm already much happier here, which is nice. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.